Good morning children. Welcome to the online class. As we have studied in our previous video, in the second part of the video, we finished currents. Today we are going to study tides. Please see the lesson, page number 92, tides. Introduction. The alternate rise and fall in the surface water of the ocean in a regular rhythmic motion twice in about 24 hours, resulting from the gravitational attraction that is exerted upon the earth by the sun and the moon, is known as tides. Children, the attraction of the moon and the earth's gravitational pull and the sun, these three plays a major role in tides. We are going to see this in this lesson. The tidal produced force by the moon is twice than that of the sun. In other words, tides are produced by the gravitational attraction of the moon and the centrifugal force of the earth and the moon. The center part of the earth attracts the tides and the moon plays a important role. Its moon's also gravitational pull also plays an important role. Cause of tides. Gravitational force. Tides are caused by the influence of moon on the earth. The gravitational pull of moon is more on earth because of its proximity to the earth. The sun being too far away always exerts some pull on the earth due to its great mass, but it is much less as compared to moon. People living on the seashore can observe the connection between the phase of moon and tides. The more attraction is of the moon rather than of the sun, children, and the earth. The earth and the moon's gravitational pull has the causing of the tides. Influence of the moon. The earth is pulled towards the moon more than the water, and H1, therefore water lags behind the rise up at H1, forming high tide. The moon pulls cause water to be drawn from L1 and L2, therefore low tides occur there. So influence of the moon is causing, in the diagrams children you can see over here, the L1 is the low tide and the L2 is the low tide. So the moon is here and the rotation of the earth is taking place, and this is the influence of the earth on the tide taking place. The low tide is happening and the low tide is happening on this part of the earth, and the high tide is taking place on this side of the earth. Let's see the influence of rotation of the earth. Result in every meridian coming into the position of two high tides and two low tides nearly every 24 hours. Since moon travels in its orbit in the same direction as the earth is rotating, it takes about 24 hours and 52 minutes in one lunar day for the sequence of two high and two low tides to be completed. Excuse me children. Magnitudes of tides. The tides are of different magnitudes and their height is an open sea differs to that of the coastal area. In the open ocean, the difference in height between the high spring and low neap tides may be only a half meter, but in shallow marginal sea, it can increase to about 10 meters, and in some of the estuaries up to 12 meters. On an average, tides rises to about 4 meters. So children, you can see the magnitude of the tide. It is rising up to 4 meter. Type of tide. There are few tides, spring tides and neap tides. Spring tide. When the sun, earth and moon are in the straight line as they are at full moon and new moon, the gravitational force is at its greatest because of combined force of sun and moon as they are pulling together. At this time, the high tide is very high and low tide is very low. These types of tides are called spring tides. Children, spring tides occur when you can see when it is full moon. Spring tide occurs when it is full moon and new moon. Two times it is taking place when the tides are in full moon. Neap tide. When the sun, earth and moon are not in a straight line, the sun and moon are not exerting combined force, that they are not pulling together, the gravitational pull is much less. At half moon, that is when the sun and moon are pulling at right angle, the force exerted is at its least and the difference between high and low tide is not large. These tides are called neap tides. Children, here you can see the gravitational pull of sun and earth is making the tide having the pull towards it less. Both are exerting its force and the moon is not there. Moon is here. This is called neap tide. Timing of tides. The extreme difference between each tide is approximately 12 hours and 26 minutes. If there is a high tide at 8 am, the next high tide will be at 6:26 pm and the next at 6:52 am and so on. This occurs because of the revolution of the moon around the earth in the same direction as earth's rotation, that is west to east. If the moon had remained stationary, each place of the earth's surface would have come under its influence after 24 hours and each tide would have occurred at the interval of 24 hours. The tidal range differs from sea to sea. In the open ocean, such as Atlantic, tide flow and ebb regularly twice a day. In the enclosed sea or sheltered sea, such as Mediterranean or Baltic, the range may be very small. Effects of tide. Tides helps to remove the debris from the seashore. Strong tidal currents help ships to enter in shallow harbor. Example, Calcutta, now Kolkata. In certain harbor, tidal basins are constructed to store tidal water. That is London Harbour. Tidal energy can be harnessed as in France to generate electricity. Example, UK and Australia. Tide helps in producing salt in the coastal areas as water is flooded by high tide in the low-lying areas. Tides governs the schedule of fishermen. They sail out and in with the tide. In cold countries, tides prevents the port from getting frozen as they keep coastal water in constant motion. Strong tidal waves although prevents formation of delta, but they help river in building their own floodplain. That example, Thames in England. The sea creatures which are attracted to rocks depends on tides to bring their food along with tidal waters. Children, here we end our lesson. I hope you would have understood little bit and go through the lesson, read it, do all the exercises, children, do all the diagrams, all the maps, and we will meet in our next lesson and the next video. Thank you, children, for your cooperation.